Greetings, Virgo. Thanks for joining me at the Lightroom Forecast. This is your reading, first reading actually for 2022. So thanks for liking, sharing, subscribing. It really helps me to keep this channel going. And so we're just going to go free flow today. Free flow, starting with the soft deck. A few cards to begin with, and one card for moving forward at the end. I've got a journey map and a Kim Cran's animal spirit card face down that we can look at the end, and in between clarify what we do get. So Virgo, let's just see what pops out today for you. Oops. Excuse me. Got one. No, too many. Okay. Starting out. Sorry, Virgo. I'll just... Okay. They are face down. Hang on. Let's just have a look. And one moving forward, please. Moving forward. Okay. Let's have a wee look. Well, we get, actually, if you've looked at the collective reading, is up at the moment, and there is a similarity, slight similarity here. But let's go through and we'll clarify. Starting out, like there's a decision here. It's in process. We've got the Two of Swords. We've got the Two of Swords. There's actually quite a definite, we'll get more out of this, but there's quite a definite choice here. So we start with the Two of Swords. We come into the Three. This understanding of sorrow, understanding of actually probably not making the same choices possibly that we have done in the past. Maybe there's a desire to do this, sorry, not to do that. And often there's a level of trust that is gained over time that you don't necessarily think about that much, but of course experience indicates to us, you know, over time. Sometimes we're unaware of what am I talking about? We're aware of what has happened in the past, and we're quite, but sometimes we're not that consciously aware that we're making choices. We're making choices in a really targeted way to avoid that, to avoid the Three, to avoid sorrow. You know what I mean? That got off to a strange start. But I say this because as we come into the Knight of Swords, it's just all swords, Virgo, thus far. The Knight of Swords is an opportunist and very direct and knows exactly what they're after. I mean, it's almost a, you know, it's almost like the thoughts shooting through your mind. It's a kind of like a unbridled propulsion in the Knight of Swords. So it's interesting, you know. So we have the Two of Swords, the Three of Swords, and similar to the collective reading in that we are making, or in the process of making some choices here, some decisions that there's a time involved in this. There's a timing involved in this. Because as soon as I do sense that here, as soon as we've made that choice, things move incredibly quickly from that point. Moving forward, we have the Queen of Swords. It's like there's real mental, just a lot of mental activity going on here. And there's a sort of somewhat, could you say, not aggressive, but a somewhat incredibly direct approach that you're taking over something. I don't know what that is. These are really general readings, so let's go through and clarify, shall we? Pretty amazing to have all these swords. Let's clarify the Two of Swords for Virgo, please, for Virgos out there. What have we got? Yeah, you're sitting on something here that you've been working upon. This is really well thought out, even though once you've made whatever choices you're making, things move very quickly. This is really well planned. You've got quite a definite, Virgo, you've got quite a definite outcome in mind here. You've been working, perfecting this. As I said before, sometimes we're not necessarily conscious of the fact that based on our history, we're making choices like that are quite that really extend ourselves. Do you know what I mean? Because it's something quite new. It's a new way of doing it. I'm not saying this is a new way for you, but it sort of is, if that makes sense. Let's have a look at this Three of Swords. Yeah, exactly. Right, it's pretty self-explanatory. You've done the review. You've seen, look, Seven of Discs. Seven of Discs. We do a review. Look, you see what you don't want to repeat. You see that exactly in terms of the decisions you're making right now. And this is a way to rebalance. It is rebalancing. We have justice. We have justice here. It's quite interesting. Knight of Swords, please. And maybe it's to do with, the general things that have been going on over the last couple of years. Has made you think a little bit differently. Not necessarily differently, but it's given you time to really do quite a good review up until this point. I think sometimes these things happen too at various points, don't they? Like in terms of numbered years, it's often something which becomes quite hard to ignore in middle age. Doing things in a different way, doing a review of past, but of course at certain junctures we do that through life anyway, don't we? But the Knight of Swords, please. We actually had the Hanged Man coming out for the Knight of Swords, which is interesting. I think you've had some period where you've had a lot of downtime. I think you've had a lot of hang time, as it were, because this card comes, we sit in Hanged Man mode for a purpose, because we need to look at something from a different perspective. I think this is what you've been doing, and what it's bringing or will bring is a lot more balance and probably a larger level of some form of security for you. But can we just get another glimpse into this Knight of Swords? Like, it's so fast. As I say that, we get the Eight of Wands coming out. You've either had information or you were receiving information, whether that's like just some kind of internal process that you've been going through, or it is something quite tangible in your world. But I actually think that it's more of something that's been going on in your own head, which is just as relevant and real. Messages coming through, internet, all forms of communication, speed. You've had time to prepare yourself for this, whatever this is, but you've had time, and it allows you to embody the Queen of Swords here. Moving forward, Queen of Swords, very discerning. Very discerning. There've been, look, these are really general readings, but some sort of question of security, figuring out a balance between what you can give, what you can let go of or offer to other people. There's some expansion here. We get the Four of Discs, which is a really stable, secure card, but it does indicate that possibly, you know, sometimes it's really good to have a great level of security, obviously, in terms of money, in terms of where you live, all that sort of thing. Sometimes we need to let a little bit go in order to broaden our horizon and to see things from maybe a slightly different perspective, because then we can receive, if we feel that we need to, in a different way than what we have in the past. I think you've been doing a review on this. We also had the Empress come up, the consummate, creative, nurturing energy of the Empress is like the Queen of all queens. Non-gender here. But the Queen of all queens, you know. There's been a review, Virgo, of some kind. Let's see what the Pixies, Brian Froud's Fairy Oracle, if they have any pearls of wisdom here in relation to this reading for Virgo. We have a couple of cards, so it's kind of interesting. Oh, far too many. Yeah. Decisions, the name of the game here. We get a really Virgoian card, actually. 3 cards coming out. We get he himself, all lit up from the heart up. Yeah, it's a really, this is a very earthy card. This has all been going on the upper levels here. Losguna, about rediscovering aspects, whether this be aspects of yourself or places in your environment that you forgot about, you know, nature maybe, those pockets of nature that exist in a city, or places, you know, that you rediscover that you like to go to. I mean, all of this sort of thing. It's something, you know, something has been going on whereby you've been thinking a lot about how you want to move forward from this point. We also get in that cluster Tabira of the Waters, probably the only, apart from the Empress here, of course, we don't want to forget the Heart, the only watery kind of card in here, in fact. There's a general feeling here of review, of working away at something for quite a long time and coming to a point where you're making a choice. You don't want to base that choice on the past and past decisions. You've had a period of time or circumstances around you which has allowed you to be in Hanged Man mode, because in that mode it indicates to us that we need time to understand something or alter our perspective. We see that moving into the Queen of Swords, you know, being very discerning and just like Justice. But there's an indication to, you know, to utilize this new perspective, to see new things that are being offered to you and new things that you can offer others as well when we see the Empress in here. So it's quite interesting, Virgo. Let's have a wee look at what we have. Wow. Journey map, we've got Fortuna. It's kind of quite, you know, quite relative. I'm just sort of lost for words here. This does relate quite well, Fortuna. You know, it takes a long, long time to get all these pearls strung up, you know, to get them all to maturity. This wealth that comes from experience, from time passing, from levels of new insight, wisdom, all of that kind of thing. It is something that lights an individual from the inside out. And, you know, you kind of think of age here. And there is something about, you know, being at one of those points, especially middle age, whereby you are doing a really big review of your life thus far. And Fortuna is a beautiful card. There's a lot of grit along the way, but that doesn't, you know, that's part of who we are. The grit produces the pearl. With that, which I find quite funny, we get the tarantula. I love this card. Well, I'm not a great, you know, I wouldn't want one crawling up my arm. Lovely thing. The tarantula. I always get this thing of this unencumbered, you know, a little bit sort of, well, I suppose they can move quite fast, but sort of a little bit slow, but sort of always get this breeze, you know, ruffling the furry fuzz on the tarantula's body. You know, it's out there for all to see. There are no veneers or, you know, with the tarantula. It's out there shaking your little hairy bits in the wind, you know, and feeling good about that, which I find quite interesting to end on that note, Virgo. I hope you got something out of this reading today or enjoyed it. Please, as I said probably at the beginning, do like, share and subscribe. It helps me to keep this going. And have a wonderful week and a great smooth entrance into this new year of 22. Ka kite.